First of all, Mr. Baker, thank you for all your help and the efforts that we've put forth for general aviation. You know, when we go back and I'll review real quickly the Pilot's Bill of Rights that was successful 3 years ago, certainly your organization was instrumental in getting that passed. Then when we did the Pilot's Bill of Rights 2, there are certain things that were not properly addressed in Pilot's Bill of Rights 1 in terms of what the courts might do and all of that, so we had the second one. But the one issue in there that got everyone's attention, of course, was the reform of the third-class medical. Now, there are several other things that were in that bill, and we were considering bringing up in a separate bill this week when we had a business session and decided we'd wait till the next time to make sure that we didn't overlook anything. So we have the second bill that's going to come up, and it'll take care of the problems that were addressed, but were not acted upon when the third-class medical reform went in, such as de novo review, so that if an appeal is made through the district courts, they have to start from scratch. They don't just automatically take what is handed to them by FAA or by NTSB. The transparency issue on reexaminations, which you're very familiar with. And then the last thing, the updates of the NOTAM program, that's Notice to Airmen. And since I had a personal experience with that a few years ago, only to find that there were no NOTAMs where they said there were NOTAMs, and yet we had no fallback position. That's a reform that's going to have to be done. All three of those reforms are going to be found in the bill that will be marked up by this committee at the next business hearing. Any comments on that bill?
Well, first off, to you, Senator Inhofe, and this committee, it has been remarkable the difference we feel in general aviation with the support of the third-class reform, which was signed into law last July. And by the way, the FAA has risen to the occasion, has met every deadline, and maybe even exceeded it. It'll be effective as of May 1st, and there are tens of thousands of aviators that will be back in the game over the next coming years. So thank you to this committee and to the full Senate for approving that, and your leadership particularly on it. The final part of Bill of Rights 2, which you've been a leader on and we've been very concerned about, is this whole due process part that is very important, that as a citizen we have the opportunity to have real review of issues. And that's why we very much support Pilot's Bill of Rights 2 and getting it signed off, as well as understanding these NOTAMs and what they call at the very end of the NOTAM, which means the Notices to Airmen. It says you can't trust it at the very end because we don't know if it's actually been depicted correctly, a presidential TFR or any of these things, and yet the airman can be violated for entering that airspace. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get that so it is clear and concise, and for the pilot to have a really due process part of being protected. That. So thanks for your leadership on that. We look forward to that passing.
Yeah, and I think we have the support to get it passed. A lot of that thanks to you. And so they were talking about the NPE program. I was proud to be a part of that back in 2000. In fact, that was the amendment to bring the general aviation airports into a position where they could compete and have some benefits. Mr. Dickerson, I think sometimes about what would have happened in the state of Oklahoma had we not had the contract towers. Our two major cities in terms of football games are Norman, Oklahoma, and Stillwater, Oklahoma. On football day, I mean, it's swamped. Without the contract alternative that we had, we would be stuck without any help during that time. Your friend Walt Strong tells this story all the time. So right now there's some problems with it, and that we're going to try to address, having to do with some of the benefits and reforming the FAA's benefit and cost analysis process. Would you address that for us and the benefits that you see needed to be improved there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Senator, and thank you for your leadership along with Senator Blumenthal on the contract tower funding letter that you generated 35 senators on board.
Yes, that's right. The lead Democrat was Senator Blumenthal.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. So the benefit cost ratio, we've had some specific recommendations, many of which, as Senator Cantwell's question, were included in the reauthorization bill last year and didn't make it into the extension. What we think it does, right now the FAA's thumb is on the scale against airport safety. It's leaning toward these broad, abstract economic models. And control towers provide such an important, critical safety. We should be erring on the side of safety, not abstract economic models. Some of our specific recommendations are, unless your traffic drops significantly at an airport, you shouldn't be subjected to the annual benefit cost ratios. The costs that would disappear from the FAA's budget if a tower was closed, those are legitimate costs to use in the analysis, but indirect, non-site specific costs that FAA wants to put in the model should not be included. Again, we should be erring on the side of safety. We've recommended lifting the cap on AIP use for building contract towers. Right now it's at $2 million. I think airports should have an adequate time to respond to any BCs that the FAA puts out. So we have a number of measures in was in my written testimony, and many of which were in the bill last year that the Senate passed. We hope we can continue to work with the Commerce Committee to keep building on that success.
Excellent answer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.